Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Alison. I was born in Britain of an Irish father and a Welsh mother. I was in Finland as an exchange student, teaching English to a little girl in Asikkala, which is near Växjö, which is near Lahti. And this was deep in the middle of the forest by Lake Päijänne. So that was my first introduction to Finland. I came to marry a Finn in London in 1970. And then he brought me to Finland again. I then came to know his family, and that was the beginning of my Finnish journey. Yes, my Finnish journey.
Well, you said you were painting simultaneously.
I was trying to, and earn a living at the same time. So I was a waitress. Then I found a job as teaching at the Adult Education Institute, the Työväenopisto in Finnish and Arbis in Swedish. And in the beginning, I had a dictionary in each pocket so that I could...
Depending on which class you go to.
Which class I was at. And I was teaching silkscreen printing at Työväenopisto, and then at the Swedish-speaking one, the Arbis, I was teaching both silkscreen printing and Chinese brush painting. That was later, much later. Drawing and painting was my love and passion. I had a special interest in portraiture, and I read a book then in 1976, which actually changed the direction of my technique. Until then, I had been used to painting in oil and acrylic, and to some extent in watercolor. But then I read Zen and the Art of Archery by a man called Eugene Herigel. I determined to find myself a Chinese master. That was not easy. It took me 3 years. Finally, I found one in Singapore. That then gave me a whole nother approach to painting. And the surface quality of the paper, the grinding of the ink, the kind of brushes which I carry with me, changed dramatically from that point on. If you hold the brush in a special way, which the Chinese do, not the Western way, you have much greater control over your color. You have greater mobility from the shoulder, and the whole process became different. So that, and then the same director of the National Gallery, the Singaporean, when he's showing me around the Singapore National Gallery and all the Chinese brush painters, all the Chinese painters there, that's when I became introduced to some of the heroes. Chi Pai Shi.
Maybe somehow on this side.
Like this one. Chi Pai Shi. I mean, he's relatively recent. But the one that he said, you have to go and see the paintings of Chu Ta. I said, well, who is Chu Ta? He is the equivalent of Rembrandt in Chinese painting. The hermitage to which Chu Ta retired for 27 years of his life, it was in the middle of paddy fields. And so there they have the best collection of Chu Ta's work. And so that's where I went. And I was much impressed, and it was well worth the visit.
This is in Kyoto?
This particular one.
Okay.
But there's a collection of his work in Prague.
Oh, that's more accessible.
More accessible.
A bit closer.
But unfortunately, I never saw it because it was closed that Monday when I was there.
The book you are showing this from is actually your book.
Yes.
You have a very big exhibition coming very soon, and this book is kind of part of the whole project.
That is correct.
Of gathering all your art.
Yes.
Maybe you want to tell about it?
It's a lot of work. This was written actually during the time of COVID, because I could not have the exhibition in 2022. So during the time I was preparing for the exhibition, my partner suggested I write a book instead. So
Instead of an exhibition.
well, we're waiting to be able to have the exhibition postponed till 2023. So that was the origin of this, and this is really summarizing the journey as an artist.
The exhibition is going to be in Kapelitehdas.
That's correct.
And the opening is?
The opening is actually on the 22nd
Of March.
Of March, yes. To the public it is opened on the 23rd and will go on until the 10th of April. Yes. And it will be in 700 square meters of space. So there's plenty of room.
I know you have been traveling a lot. Was that always your goal, to have a life where you are able to go to very far away places? Or did it just happen?
The purpose of those travels was always fueled by curiosity and also trying to learn from other artists. For example, Sikkim. I wanted to see the paintings in Sikkim by Buddhist artists. I got a scholarship to Donghuang in the Gobi Desert in China in 1987. Again, these are magnificent paintings inside caves, sculptures done by superb craftsmen, and it's on the Silk Road. That was another purpose for going to that part of the world. Not to mention then Bhutan. Why? Because they have also some magnificent art too. And this brings me to Tiger's Nest. Tiger's Nest, you have to see it to believe it, perched on the edge of a rocky mountain. And
is it like a whole village?
It's a monastery.
A monastery.
There's a whole series of legends of the monk who influenced the Buddhist teachings, or teachings of the Buddha, to the Bhutanese. He's supposed to have flown on the back of a tiger, and this monastery magically appeared. There are many legends related to this particular monk. One has to see this. It's a very strong hike to get up here.
And this is a print of your drawing?
This is a print of a painting I did of the location, and it's seen from another mountain, another hill, I should say. So these journeys have been fueled by a desire to become acquainted with inspiring art throughout the world, where possible. But there's still more to discover, there's still more to explore. And when the exhibition is over, that is the plan, is to try to explore other parts. South America is another one.
You were to Nicaragua there?
Yes, I was working as a volunteer there from 1992 to 96. That enabled me to go and see some of the wonders of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and also Machu Picchu in Peru. Those were just a few of the wonders that...
Is there a continent you haven't been to?
I have not seen the paintings of mainland Australia. However, I have been to Macquarie Island, where they don't have any art, but they have a wonderful wildlife, penguins, sea lions. So that is inspiring and is a reason to have one's sketchbook close to hand. Yes. The power of the sketchbook.
Yes, this is another theme.
Yes, very much so. The sketchbook is like an intimate part of my handbag, because you never know when an opportunity might arise. You
had so many travels, and during those,
yes,
maybe your sketchbook is your studio a little bit.
Well, to some, yes, I'd say the sketchbook is an integral part of my personal equipment.
Maybe it's good to mention that we are in your studio space, adopted studio space.
It's an adopted studio space, correct. This came about in an unexpected way.
Have you been working here or
Yes.
just organizing?
No, very much so. When you say working, I have been framing. You see there's some frames down at your feet there. Yes, a lot of work. Down below is what really is my studio, which is about 12 square meters.
Which we will go to and we will
You
see.
can see that's also a mess, a glorious mess, because I have tried to organize all the different paintings into boxes and themes. So that's why it's a mess. So I don't actively work in there at the moment in the sense of, it's not a studio at the moment, it's a storeroom.
Let's talk maybe a little bit about the studio in general. Like, how important is having a studio for you?
Very important, because the tools with which you work are part of the process, and you need a certain space, minimal amount of space, to be able to do the work. The studio is really a place where one can go and practice and work out certain ideas, an important space. And of course a tabletop. So in here we have a tabletop where I have been working, and like I said, all the tools that you need are nearby.
Have you ever shared a studio with somebody or not?
No, that's not true. That is not true. I have. When I first came to Finland, I did weaving, and it was because my first exhibition, which was very, very modest, in Taidegallery in Boulevard, somebody walked in and introduced herself as a weaver. I said, oh, and she said, yes, do you want to come and see? I'm living at home and I weave at home. I went to go to her home, and so I learned how to weave. We rented a place in Merimiehenkatu, and then after that we rented a shop space in Pietarinkatu. And we were both weaving there, and we both had exhibitions together of our weavings, woven items. And then little by little I felt that weaving was fun to do, but I really wanted to get back to my painting. So I think it was mutually understood, and she wanted to do other things, so that was the end of the weaving phase.
Did you ever have this community of other artists?
I became friends with a number of artists, yes, absolutely, yes. And because I was teaching, so I became friends with some of my students, and they have become lifelong friends, also artists. Art was central to my teaching in general. Nature has always been a source of inspiration, and it started in Portugal. The sea, the beauty of the rocks and the sea and the sky there was an inspiration and has stayed with me ever since. How do you convey to the next generation the importance of protecting their environment? You can have a massive amount of data, scientific data, but most people cannot necessarily understand it. So the question is, how do you expose young people to this question, how to protect the environment and not abuse it, not misuse it? So art is a powerful tool to that end. Handmade paper, collection of bottle tops, collection of plastic, all of these became elements in creative recycling. And hopefully this resonates with the younger generation in the future. And during the exhibition, we will be receiving 2 Malawians who will lead 2 workshops with 2 Finnish high schools. One is Kuvataide Lukio, and the other is called Töölö Gymnasium. And 10 students from each school during 4 afternoons will learn how to make handmade paper led by these 2 Malawians. So the exhibition will be a little bit more than just a simple display of my 5 decades of artwork.